Hello and welcome to Supernova Spotlight. I'm Adrienne Elise, founder of Supernova Soul Tribe, and I am so honored to be with you here today with Clayton Nolte. Clayton is going to be talking with us about structured water. He's the foremost expert for years, has been studying incredibly powerful background. And so it is wonderful to be here with Clayton. And I can't wait to dive into more about this structured water. But Clayton is a researcher and inspired inventor of life transforming water structuring technologies. He spent the last 40 years exploring physics, math, and the properties of water and the effects it has on life. During Clayton's research, nature's own structured water became a unique recurring phenomenon of appearing where no water should. With an innate desire to emulate this for more in depth studies in remote locations and labs, Clayton delved into the inner world of water and has created an innovative line of water structuring units. So it's such an honor to be here with you today. Because I've been so personally affected by structured water and have a structured water device that I got from your company years ago, and fundamental a factor in me being here alive on the planet right now and dealing with the health issues I was dealing with. And we can get into more of that later. But I just want to say thank you so much, Clayton, for your dedication and research and holding the energy of these concepts. And so, what is structured water? And structured water basically is in around just a nutshell understanding water in its natural state, in these are the waters we always talk about, the Gaia codes and the highest mountain and the deepest caves, and but the waters that move through the earth around the rocks and stirred up by Mother Nature in the energy of the action of the vortex creates a certain polarity lineup, a way that the bond angle of the water. And so this makes the water able to be more absorbed by our body. Ultimately, we're talking about with structured water, the art of hydration. And so incredibly powerful. And it's wonderful to work with Clayton in a water group based on the work of Dr. Emoto, understanding the memory of water and the way that water can hold memory, and also the way that structuring can erase memory. So, incredibly powerful technologies. And the cool thing is that Clayton can also help us understand that these technologies are so powerful, but the understanding, the concept, the consciousness of what's happening, we can structure our life, our body, our water in our with our consciousness. So it's very powerful and just an honor to be here talking with you today, Clayton. Welcome to Supernova Spotlight.
Thank you. It's an honor for me uh, to engage with people of your wisdom and your curiosity. Like I said before, this that is going to inspire many who see your videos and listen and actually hear you. Um, a reminder is not everybody can. So, so, so you have to adjust to that. Or I had to adjust to it. I do realize that not everybody can hear me. And one thing I changed with my new product is my dialogue. I changed my dialogue to be more in the presence of where people are rather than try to push science.
Mhm.
Nobody understands science.
Well, I loved how you said that when you were able to, with your second company, take the work so much further because your own wisdom, I can't remember exactly how you put that, but I heard you say that your own wisdom opened you up to being able to receive more understanding and effect from the structured water.
Yes, way beyond. In fact, the difference. You know, I say about my first my first adventure into structured water was was actually observing water in nature and observing the qualities of water in and not only in nature uh, but in well in nature. Basically, when you go to Lords of France or you go to Hunza in Pakistan, Hunza water or Lords of France, there are several other existing venerated water sources in the world, and and it's a fascinating journey to experience a perfect water coming out of the ground uh, and the effects of that perfect water. So,
Well, this is a question I have for you, Clayton, because when we talk about the vortex action that helps the water to come back into its structure or, and then something that happens again and again for us supernova souls in our meditations and journeys is that we're going to these sacred places where this water is on the earth. And, some people call these acupuncture points or ley lines or vortexes of the earth. And um, is there a structuring? Do you feel like some sort of um, connection between the structured of the water and the vortex of the place?
well, yes, vortex is a natural occurring a natural occurring event as water moves down a river, or let's say when the water comes against a river bank, uh, the water against the bank is slowed down, but the water that's let's say not against the bank is speeded up. It's at its speed, but the water against the bank is slowed down. So that causes the water to spin. And same thing when it comes against a rock. When water comes against the rock, the water coming against the rock is slowed down, but the water outside of that is going at its full rate. So if water comes against the right side of a rock, the water is spun to the it's spun to the left. If water comes against the left side of the rock, the water is spun to the right. That's vortexing. And as these vortices occur in a river, or uh, you can even look at, there's all kinds of vortices happening in your body. When you breathe in through your nose, your left nostril spins the air to the right, your right nostril spins the air to the left. So the air you're breathing in is structured, made perfect. On this side of the planet, when you fill a basin or let's say a sink or a tub full of water, and you pull the you allow the water to run down the drain, the water spins to the left, structuring the water, cleansing it, yeah, neutralizing the toxins that may be in it, or the hydrocarbon, or all the things that may be in it from a bath, making the water healthy again. This is nature.
Well, yeah, and so it's just brilliant, these devices and how you've spent all these years and time and energy to understand these vortexes to emulate the power of nature. And that was something so fascinating for me because I was, of course, on the search for the good water, especially for detoxifying, finding that I was, full of metals. And it turns out that where I lived in Missoula, Montana, there's an aquifer under the ground, and it has the exact makeup of the water that you're going to go buy, the Evian or the real fancy waters that are going to have just the right selenium for detox and everything. It was like, oh my gosh. And so I ended up, instead of all of the different ways of working with water, those waters felt dead to me, reverse osmosis. And then I just came to the structuring of the tap water. And then that water came alive for me. But it was so cool to see how because it's the only thing they add is a little chlorine at certain seasons. And so when that chlorine, you could just feel it kind of come to the top and evaporate. Like, tell me about how does the structured water do this?
It changes the chemical makeup of the chlorine. So uh, so let's dive down into what structuring actually is. So in a structured water unit, structured water created by Clayton is just a term that was easy for me. I'm not really great at making up stories. So structured water created by Clayton. The structured water unit, as water passes through it, it causes the water to spin. And that spin is vortexing multiple directions. In that spin, uh, first off, to create the spin, uh, you have a specific chamber that the water goes through, and specific flow forms or elements that the water comes against. And what it causes is significant vortices, multiple vortices. The one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want water to spin the same direction all the time. Because if water spins to the left, I'm just going to give you a little bit of the medicine of that. In a sense, if you just spin water to the left, when you ingest that water or you bathe in that water, it's going to force all the toxins that it releases to go out your elimination system. And the majority of humanity's elimination systems are compromised. It's not a good thing for elderly to have to deal with the toxins going out their elimination system. If you spin water to the right, those toxins go out your skin. So, which is better for the elderly. And the key is to do it in a balanced way, always maintaining balance, maintaining the health profile of all living beings. Balance. So that spin again changes the biggest thing it does, it changes the viscosity of the water, the tension on the water. It makes water available to the cellular level.
Viscosity, I meant to look that up. The definition, it's slippery.
No, viscosity is the definition of its ability to enter into a membrane or into the cellular level. Viscosity is the tension on the water. So if you fill a glass with water and you keep filling it and filling it and filling it, the water will dome up over the top. It'll create, because when it rains on your car, you have water droplets. That's the tension of the water holding that droplet. So in order for the water or even the blood in your body to enter into the cellular level, it has to be structured. And the structure, the term, as you can look up, is dynes, Dynes. the water needs to be below 46 dynes for it to pass through the cell wall. The cells in your body have no doorways, they have no entry points and no exit points. When water comes to a cell, if it's not structured, it just goes around it. When it's structured, and structuring implies basically that the water travels in clusters. If you live in a city or and you're drinking and bathing in polluted water, that water may be clear, it may look perfect, but the majority of water in most communities is laden with all the chemicals of the people, basically because cities, to have enough water to serve the population, they cleanse the water, clean it, either reverse osmosis it or distill it and put it back into your tap water. So that water is clean to the eye, but the energy of it contains all the elements, all the minerals, all the toxins, all the medications of all the people it's ever passed through. It's in the memory of the water. So when you drink or bathe that water, you are coming in contact with whatever it may be. What structuring does is structuring changes the other thing it changes, first off, the viscosity. The viscosity is the tension on the water. You go back to that dome of water on a glass, over a glass of water. If you add 1 drop of structured water, that dome will go flat. That means that the viscosity of the water has gone lower and made the water run off. No droplet. And droplets contain calcium salts. So every time you have a droplet on your car, those calcium salts remain when the water evaporates. And a little bit of science here, those calcium salts arrange themselves in accordance with the hydrogen bond angle. When you talk about Emoto looked at that arrangement by freezing the water. I'm going to give you a little clue here with a microscope from a grade school. You can look at those calcium salts and see the hydrogen bond angle. You can see the structure of the water simply.
What was that like for you? I've seen those pictures of the water, like say the tap water and then the structured water and these different angles. And how did you come upon, what was that like for you discovering this or understanding of this beautiful
Uh,
angles?
I was fortunate at the time that I observed the quality of water at its highest form, and I happened to be working alongside of and having the access to probably $1 billion lab and maybe 300 or 400 lab technicians. So I had the ability to utilize their expertise and explore the meaningfulness of nature and from a science point of view. But from a nature point of view, it is a significant journey. In my what you read about who I am and where I've been, basically, that aspect of water appearing where it should not has to do with what I did uh, most of my adult life. Anyway, um, there's so many aspects to this. We go back to the dynes, dynes. Dynes is again the viscosity of the water. And there are scientific pieces of equipment that can measure those dynes. I remember my company buying one. It was $15,000 for that dynamometer, or I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was $15,000. And believe me, one time you look at the 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 viscosity of water, uh, it's complicated to set up, complicated to get it right. Science is complicated, or can be, and but once you do it, you don't do it very often. Once you know, and it gets easier and easier. I'm just trying to say, what for me, the realization that I had structured water, access to structured water, and the realization of the qualities of that structured water, and then the comparison of Lords of France or Hunza or other venerated water sources. Um, it's a journey of discovery that everybody should have. The other discovery basically is that we are structured beings. If we were not, we could not be alive. All living things are structured. That includes the lettuce that you're eating when you eat salads. Everything living is structured. Everything that was alive or is alive is structured. It has to
And
be, and it has to be in order for the dynes to be lowered. What in our body lowers the dynes? Our heart. The liquid is pumped through our heart, structuring all the liquid in our body. And every drop of blood that's structured, when it comes in contact with unstructured materials, it structures it. And I'm going to make this statement. When you make one atom of hydrogen perfect, every atom of hydrogen it comes in contact with is made in its image perfect. The one element that structuring changes is hydrogen. Hydrogen exists in all things.
and
Simple.
so this relates back to that hexagonal, or the
Yeah.
120. I wanted to talk to you more about this hexagonal water, and what you call this image, the mandate, um, this perfection. We just had a Cancer full moon yesterday, and the Cancer full moon happened at 24 degrees Cancer exactly. And 2 and 4 in numerology, you add up is 6. And so we're talking a lot about this sacred number that's been stolen from us. And it seems to hold the key of the magic of humanity's evolution. And so to hear you talk about this hexagonal water as this perfection, this hydrogen, and that everything has hydrogen. Hydrogen is affected by in the angle, taking it to, in astrology we call that a trine, 120 degrees. It's very harmonious, and so that you're talking about it, carrying this perfection.
Yes. So hexagonal water is simple. It's 6 water molecules in a cluster. So when you structure water or you structure any liquid and it goes into 6 water molecules per cluster, that's the way liquid travels in clusters. In your cities, you could easily have 40 to 60,000 water molecules in a cluster. But remember this, at your cellular level, your cells can only receive one water molecule at a time. So how do you get from 60,000 down to one? It's a quandary. And I'll tell you this, the majority of humans today don't get there. How many people do you know are balanced in hydration? Not many.
It seems to be a chronic issue. And to me, it's coming back to what we talked about before the interview today, Clayton, of this core essence that seems to be coming forward in human, and maybe has to do with this six energy of the transforming of the six, of whether we or not we deserve to receive. And I feel like in all the talking about the structured water, you talk about like, well, you know, where's your intention at? Where's your energy of matching it? Where's your wisdom to, and so this water comes along that's all clustered up, and we'll just call it a cluster F, you know, like moving through with all these wastes and everything and coming to your cell, and the cell says no, I'm not going to receive that. And then so then that, what a beautiful action when the cell receives that hexagonal and can receive, and the cell membrane can relax and say yes, come in. You know, it's such a beautiful energy. And the nanotech poisoning in our body is using the calcium channels. And so I think that this is why I found myself so incredibly depleted. And until I had the structured water, I couldn't really come back to a place of healing. And I've heard you say that it breaks down, it can help break down the extra calcium just because of what you were talking about of
Right.
the bubble and all that.
Yeah.
So
And
the
so,
actual
yeah. And so when you create hexagonal water, that's six water molecules, the hydrogen bond angle is 120 degrees. And you have to remember that a molecule of water is one atom of hydrogen and two atoms of, no, one atom of oxygen and two atoms of hydrogen. And what makes for water is oxygen has a covalent bond. It has the ability to hold on to two atoms of another substance. And when it's oxygen, it creates water. So that hydrogen bond angle is basically, if you look at polluted water, the hydrogen bond angle is probably 90 degrees or more. And it's not even 90 degrees. When it really gets polluted, it's a very small degree. Uh, so when you structure it, structuring changes the hydrogen bond angle. And if you were to look at even a moderately polluted water and look at the hydrogen bond angle, you look at the molecule. And so here we go. You cannot see a molecule. It's too small. There are very few instruments that can see it. And an instrument that's been around now for a while is nuclear magnetic resonance. That device, the nuclear magnetic resonator, back in my day, probably cost $10-15 million. And it's a device that's called a, it looks at the the shadow, the shadow of a molecule of water. So if you remember as a kid or somewhere where people had a light and say like a wall, and you made figures of your hands making rabbits and making turkeys and making whatever figures.
shadow puppets.
Yeah, shadow puppets, right? The nuclear magnetic resonator does that. It's a The name of what it does. Basically, so it looks at the shadow, and that's the way they measure the hydrogen bond angle, is with the shadow. And it's complicated. It's so complicated that the majority of people that know how to operate it, the complications cause them to look at simpler things to
So
get.
because the crystals will show us I mean, that's
Yeah, the crystal will show you. You look at any crystal as a six-sided figure, right? The crystals that you buy in the store, they're six-sided, hexagonal, right?
yeah, and so but the water crystals, I mean, it's a little simpler way to demonstrate. Do you feel like the water crystals show us in a simpler way? Like Emoto's water crystals, like, or I mean, how he showed us that we can see how the water forms in as it freezes.
Yeah, you can do the same thing. If you structure water, or if you don't structure water, you take a Ziploc bag, fill it half full of water, and throw it in the freezer, and lay it flat, throw it in the freezer. um, the You won't get much of a picture from unstructured water. But if you structure water and do the same thing, you will find six-pointed stars in the ice. And this is what Emoto did. He he super froze water and then took pictures of it. Probably for every picture in his book, he probably took 10, 15,000, 20,000 pictures in order to find the one to describe what the dialogue, right? The the story.
Yeah. And we found that the more complex the waters, like these sacred locations, the more points they will often have on
That's
them, more
pollution.
dimensionality.
That's pollution. The only the only the only true structured water is hexagonal. The closest thing you can get is 12 points. I think it's 12. It's uh, basically this. Your hands are electromagnetic, they're electromagnetic energy. So when you place your hands together, in between your hands is a structuring event. If you bring this down to a glass of water and you place your hands on both sides of the water, which you do every time you drink water, you're placing your hands on both sides, you're structuring this water, no matter what its condition. This is God's way of aiding you to be a better you. Minimal structuring brings water to 114.5 degrees. Minimal structure. And you get that between the palms of your hands. And we always say, when you do this and you do it on purpose, you want to think about benevolent things or nothing at all. I don't know of many people that can get there anymore. They're too busy to take the time to hold a glass of water in their palms of their hands and think of positive thoughts. Nobody has that time anymore. But when you do, you are initiating what you're about to drink to be perfect. What the energy of between the palms of your hands does is structures water. Minimal structuring, but it's the same structuring for water to turn to ice. When water freezes, it has to structure. It has to be structured. It has to be structured at that same point as the structuring between the palms of your hands. Again, it's minimal. but it's better than nothing.
Well, that was what was so powerful in getting your device that I first got. I think it was back in maybe 2015. Um, and I was like, it's just a paradigm shift, because you start to experience the structured water and it kind of opens that. It's like the Native Americans on the shore you were talking about that couldn't see the ship because it was outside of their frame of reference. And the structured water is like kind of like that. It's like a mirage. And then once you can vibrationally, I don't know, receive and resonate. And then I felt Clayton, I understood and I said, and I said this to you on the astral plane, developer of these technologies, like, okay, now can we just structure the whole world? Clayton, can we just structure the whole world now that we know?
And you already know that we can. We prove this with we've already you all have already proved this with Clear Lake. If you can structure Clear Lake like you guys did, it went from super polluted to the point that birds couldn't even land on the water without dying, to now birds can. And what did uh, um, Jim, what the Indian tribal basically say that a flock of birds came and landed on the water, and that was right after you guys changed the water from being significantly polluted to being hexagonal water.
Wow, it's so powerful. And Clayton, you have so much experience and wisdom and information and just consciousness about how it's a kind of a beautiful path of how we can begin to show this, and demonstrate, bringing together science and spirit and showing the power of this. Because I wanted to talk more about this, what you um, part of the problem for supernova souls in the world we're living in right now is like we have so much information, misinformation, deceit, lies, misrepresentation, and it seems to be designed to get us to doubt our core structure, our core who we are. And you've said that. You said that structured water is about helping us remember we are coming back to who we really are,
Yeah.
with the structured water. And so that powerful energy of you talked about this, that the one hydrogen made perfect, and that hydrogen's in everything, and that hydrogen can remain. So this issue of what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, because the good people are now bad people and the bad people are good people, and we're all confused, but what happened for supernova souls is we just sank into this connection to Mother Earth and the living, breathing goddess that Gaia is, um and this, mother's law, the law of the land, of what's this original dream of what we want to become. And you've just told me here that it's in the water, and you talk about this, that this every hydrogen has the potential to then become perfect, made in that image of that perfect hydrogen.
And this is water also. It's just water in another form. In order to make air, you
Our
have
body, our air.
oxygen and hydrogen. And so again, every atom, when one atom is perfect, it changes everything to be in its image perfect. Now, how far that goes, it's complicated. So I design technology to go a distance. Basically, this was my original. But this is clear, and it was a structured water unit when I first developed the technology of structuring. This is probably similar to what you have. You probably have a blue one, or or whatever. This one is yellow. So my
I
company,
have the cobalt blue.
this my company really balked at putting one out in a clearer form. It's the fear of loss. I don't have a fear of loss. And I'm going to tell you this, and I want everybody to realize this. When you stand in your power, when you stand in your lane, in a sense, being one with God, being in truth, everybody around you, if they are not, are going to reveal themselves. It's God's law. They're going to reveal, and they cannot not reveal their own truth.
This has been an issue for supernova souls, and I think that's something I've been thinking about with the structured water because you're talking about the action, the movement, it invites change. And that's where I feel like we are talking about God and God's law and God's mandate, but is it perhaps the mother's mandate, this manifest form, and that we are uncovering this true potential.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Absolutely. And as we do, and as we can get others to hear what what the answer is, or see what the answer is, it can grow.
and
And
that's so powerful because we're so in suppression, like the supernova souls, but our whole world, it's like we've had to bottle up so much inside of us that's not expressed. And also disease, our whole health care paradigm is about suppression, suppression. And so somebody like me who works with moving energy and is desiring to be in that flow of energy, like what the structure you were talking about, the structure does is that invites change because it's a spin and it's a movement, and we need that. Like we need movement. Like free energy is movement, and we're all so stuck, and so maybe why we can't receive. And so talking about this spin and this movement, but when somebody's like that, that's really moving energy, helping people move energy, working on psychic, emotional energies, then if I am around someone, and I know this happens to supernova souls all the time, that isn't in that movement, and then there can be a backlash of, like you said, there it's going to expose what's not moving, or it's kind of a thing. And I think that that's what structured water and what you're talking about, this field effect, our ability to protect ourselves and hold our energetic space. It's just really, really helpful to navigate those types of energies.
I was going to say the field effect of this is maybe 100 feet. And the largest unit, the house, the house unit and or the industrial unit, put a field effect out of 1,000 feet. And that's evident in 4 videos that were done on my website, which show the strawberry field. And the reality is, if you take one pot of strawberries with one plant and you water it with structured water, back in that day, every strawberry within 1,000 feet will interact, or let's say, uh, will accommodate the energy of that strawberry in the pot. So when you water that strawberry, every strawberry within 1,000 feet in all directions becomes watered. When you give that strawberry in the pot nutrients, every strawberry within 1,000 feet receives those nutrients.
So powerful.
To science, this is impossible. To man, this is impossible. everything about structured water to science is damn near impossible. It because it's never been published. It's never been, and the reason it's never been published because it's never been allowed to be published. You get
Well,
it?
thank you for being an independent warrior for us, Clayton. Uh,
I'm going
just
to say
bringing forward this information. Yes, I was asking. I wanted to see the
this
new
is
device.
my, I don't have a label on this one. This is my personal one. This is my latest handheld. It's got a funnel input. It's got an output. This is a small output where you can put it into a bottle, run water from one bottle to another. This has a field effect of 4.5 miles. So if you consider the 1,000-foot rule, basically, where even after strawberries in those fields, they shut the water off and they shut off the fertilizer. The water, those strawberry plants continue to bloom and produce. And since in all food, when the quality of food value quality comes to a certain level, no predator can come to that strawberry. No predator could come to you when you attain a certain level of protection, in a sense, the protection within your immune system.
And
Nothing
that's
can come. It's against God's law. And in that strawberry field, the last final fourth shows that out just outside the 1,000-foot level or distance were clouds of white flies. The white flies are the flies that come, and when a strawberry is not high quality, lays its eggs on that strawberry, and it drops to the ground, and it's gone. The strawberry, those white flies could not enter into the field effect, the biophoton field effect.
so there you had the
High
direct
quality,
evidence because you could see the flies.
right? You could see the flies, right? They 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 know better than to come and bite into a strawberry that has high food value, because if they do, they die. Their saliva, basically, along with the high quality sugars of the strawberry, would turn to alcohol and kill them. So they don't come.
That's so powerful. That's like the message we've gotten. And if we are in conscious connection with Mother Earth as a field of energy and connect our electromagnetic field to the earth, we're fortified, and it feels just similar, so there's something about this. I love that you say structured water carries the energy and vibration of all things that are good for life. And to me, this is the mother's mandate, this that life is supporting life, where we live in this duality now where there's a lot working against life, like everything, and still somehow we're breathing thanks to the structured water devices.
Yes. And it goes on and on and on. And as you take this into your life and you grow with it, it brings you significant um, qualities, not only the qualities of life and long life, but also repairing the stuff of the past, which it's been doing for me significantly. Anyway, um, it also opens the doorway to who you truly are meant to be. And what it is you are truly here to do, which I know that a significant number of seekers really want to know. But
And
as you
that's
grow with this, it will reveal to you, it'll reveal to you what it is that you want to know, what you need to know.
yeah, you talked about that, the clearer vision, a clearer vision to more clearly see. And when you talked about the mandate, this mandate that you talked about, that water has a job and it's a beautiful, it's consciousness, right? But it goes and it's got to get rid of, it takes out the bad and brings in the good. And that's where we get to this perfection, this um, I don't know, it's a beautiful surrender into, this mandate of what life is meant to be and what the earth wants to become and the potential we have, and you talked about that. You actually said that, what life is meant to be. But it makes me think of this quandary for supernova souls, so much within us, and what is our mandate? You know, this feeling like we're here for something, like really, really here, not just to exist, you know, but to express and go beyond. And what is the mandate? I feel like understanding this mandate of water, working with the structure can help us come into, like you're talking about,
You're
perhaps
doing it.
our purpose.
You're doing it. You know this. You are making a difference. You're stepping out into the world to provide a provide truth. That's what my job is. I just haven't found I have found, but I haven't found exactly what it is yet that will awaken humanity. Structuring does. I talk to doctors in Lebanon and in Syria and in Turkey, all across the world, who have utilized structured water in their medical practices, in their hospitals, knowing that this is an answer to uh, to aiding people to walk out and be and accomplish what they're here to do, not to not to maintain them as patients forever, which tends to be what's happening in uh, let's say educated parts of the world. Anyway, um,
Well, I
the,
was thinking about this with the water structuring because you talked about how it I feel like it's kinda like a reset. You said it literally erases memories, like, talk about your tap water, and now these days, right, you've got all the medications, you got all the
right,
waste, you've got all the
yeah,
um, and so it's got all this that it's passed through, you know, and so the structuring kind of, because you're talking about how we can erase the past or, you know, unravel, which is something supernova souls have been really um, kind of struggling with, getting out of these old patterns that trap us in, you know, that are not who we are. And it's kind of cool to think about that it's almost like the structuring is dematerializing those concepts and beliefs, and you know, and the water can be what you need it to be rather than programmed with toxicity and poison.
yes. And this water, structured, its mandate is to bring in the nutrients and take out the garbage. That six water molecule, when it comes to a cell that needs vitamin A, say for instance, every structured water molecule can carry 440,000 bits of information. That information is in the form of ions. So when a water molecule cluster, six water molecule, comes to a cell, the cell says it needs something, or communication, it needs some element, some mineral, some something. vitamin A, vitamin C, whatever it may be, that water molecule cluster opens up like a train. The water enters into the aquaporin channel of the cell, and it drops its cargo of 440,000 bits of information into the ion channel of the cell. The water passes through. When it gets to the other side, it just before it exits, it picks up all the unused cargo, but it also picks up all the garbage from the cell. And remember, your cells can only hold energy. They cannot hold anything physical or anything electrical. It's all energy. The water molecule exits the cell with all the cargo that's left, and an internal the garbage to the internal aspect, which would be inside of the oxygen molecule as it exits, and it goes to the next cell and the next cell and the next cell. When the garbage pit, let's say, fills up, is full, that water molecule heads to the elimination system, which could be straight out your skin, armpits, or your urine. It could go any direction, but it goes out your elimination system. And that water molecule will hold on to the trash, the toxins, the hydrocarbons, the bacteria, the viruses, the molds, and the pathogens until it gets structured again, which may be a long time, or if it goes out and it evaporates. Evaporation is the natural hydrological cycle. Water evaporates, goes up in the atmosphere, and connects with a particle of dust, creates a droplet. In other words, water coming together in a form of rain, a droplet, and comes back to the earth. The however is coming down from 35, 40,000 feet, wherever the clouds are that it forms, the water comes back as rain, and it comes down through the atmosphere, hanging above the heads of most human beings on this planet is carbon, and that acid. And the water passes through the acid, collecting acid until it gets down to the surface. And that water goes into the lakes, the ocean. It's increasing the acid level of all our water sources on the planet. Fish in the ocean can't live in pure acid. You can't live in pure acid. No wonder you remember this term, it's carbon. So how many people are drinking carbonated drinks, same carbon or similar carbon? Acid. The only thing that thrives on that acid is food, trees, tomato plants. So a lot of plants that actually make electricity now are pumping their acid, the fumes from the making electricity, into greenhouses, producing tomatoes and other fruits and vegetables. I mean, it can be a perfect world, but the world has to contend with humans.
Yes, and I love these crossovers with the field effect and the effect in our fields and the effect of our connection. Um, this if you're feeling this mandate, then you're coming into alignment with the natural law, the mother's law, the what's good and right and true, and what's serving life, and um, that is it feels that it's opening us up because I mean, come back to this as a question for you, the bond angle. We're talking about the making of bonds, and so can understanding and the structured water help us come back together and bond again with our source, with mother, with God, with our earth, with each other, you know? Um, maybe that's the acid. It kind of makes me think of the anger that you talk about in the field, like, and the water wants to come back to that harmony, but it gets chaotic, and so those energies are um, uh, feels like supernova souls finding themselves constantly trying to harmonize these energies and understanding the power of the harmony that's in the water, that wants to be in the water, that is there for us, is so powerful. So thank you so much, Clayton, for talking about this with us. And um, yeah, I feel that the message that's been coming through right now is that we're in a spiritual battle that most of us don't realize we're in, and it's happening on a cellular level. And though this information is so incredibly important for us to empower ourselves and understand this mandate that what's good and right and true lives in us, that are structured, and our water is structured. For us to live, our water has to be structured. And then it's almost like, to understand the battle we've been in against this in the environment that continues to support a lack, or this work against that natural structure. So it's very powerful. And for me, Clayton, the technologies that you bring have been so powerful in understanding the concept and then the power of our intention. But it's not until we can see it and experience the energy that we can know that we have the power in our consciousness. Um, and so that was one of my questions for you, because we've been working a lot in our water group with the work of Dr. Moto, primary water and structured water, and understanding that, basically coming back to this, that water is consciousness. So my question for you is, if water is consciousness, structured water is
Structured water is consciousness in the perfect form, and and making itself available uh, to to correct the aspects of consciousness that are not. So if you consider the carbon in the atmosphere, that's that's a form of of information, in a sense, that is out of balance. And what structured water does is its mandate is to bring, first off, is to bring in the nutrients and take out the garbage, to maintain balance, to maintain the perfect scenario of life.
And you talked about this, that the 90-degree angles, or the angles, are corrections. And that's in astrology too. Angles, 90 degrees is tension. And it's like, you can't keep going that way. You got to make a shift, got to change, something's got to give. And so that tension is a correction. We talk about this, the self-correcting force, the vital force um, of the universe, of our body, and is self-correcting. And so it's powerful to feel that energy of the water. Always wanted to come back to that perfection and holding that perfection for us, to know that, to remind us that we are that as well. And I think that it's really, really important information in us being able to claim the world that we know is possible, what we want to see, and just feel it. And not just that, but we've also been getting this message, Clayton, of like, when you are autonomous and in life, in alignment with the mother and your body, and then that effect, just like this field effect, it's literally like an authority as far as an energy field bringing the forms, the biological forms and energies around you, into that word we haven't talked about yet, but really all comes down to this coherence. That was the coolest thing about when I got that structuring device. It's like, okay, I want to do the water, I want to do this, I want to do everything. It's like, okay, you can just add a little bit of the structured water to your bath, you know, and invite it to come into coherence. And that's that bond angle, that special perfect hydrogen. So maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that.
When something comes into perfection, everything wants to. So in a sense, I when I talk to people like you and others when they have questions, I would like to leave them with the thought that as they become whole and complete and in their and find their passion, that they're in their joy, everybody wants a piece of it. Everybody wants to be with you because you have something the majority of humanity does not. So what structuring does is you know, it is it is a point of consciousness, conscious awareness. As we become structured and become healthy and become who we're truly meant to be, and we take on the persona of helping others do the same, we become masters of consciousness. Every human being has this potential, this principle. Everything you ask for, um, everything you ask for uh, can be manifest. And herein lies a kind of a quandary because people have been asking for things all their lives, praying, asking, demanding. And um, and a lesson here is those things that you've asked for all your life being a mandate that you receive them somewhere in the quandary of the memory of that. Basically, it comes down to you're building up a onion skin or a shielding that what you really need this moment can't get through because the universe is still trying to provide you with the bicycle that you wanted when you were 8 years old and never received. So the answer is we as human beings need to erase everything that we've asked for, prayed for, that has not been manifest. And where I came to this is basically just before you go to sleep at night, ask the universe, God, to erase everything that has not been manifest, that you prayed for or asked for. You do that 2 or 3 nights in a row, and one morning you'll wake up and the first thing you ask for could actually occur instantaneously. The reason it doesn't in most cases is there's still that lingering doubt in human beings' physiology is prominent. Those are the things that we really need to clear up and clean up: doubt, fear, question, uh, uh, disharmony. And probably the biggest ones are judgments. I mean, all those things that hold us back need to really be cleaned up. Structured water will aid you to do this, but where we are today is we need to be part of the solution. We need to step out and make a difference, choose to make a difference. What I get is the majority of people are choosing the disharmony of somebody else, leading them down that path of fear, doubt, question. We have the power to be perfect. Very few people ever attain it. But this eliminating the stuff of the past that didn't serve you or that didn't manifest is a step forward.
It feels powerful and like the mandate, right? To take out the bad, take out the unused, take out the
Right.
wastes, and bring in what's good. And you talked about these intention patterns, which I think is really kind of connected to what you're talking about, that these three different intention patterns of kind of like, okay, maybe you could say it along with the structured water. On the one hand, you can accept and know and have instantaneous results. On the other hand, you're just kind of allowing it to do what it can do. And then the third pattern is where you really need detail or evidence, or, and so it'll still work, right? Like the
Right.
structured water still works,
Yeah.
but it could be more effective um, with our intentional life.
Right. And as you get into this initially, every time you pick up a glass of water or a bottle of water, add an intention to it. You know, add something you want to see change. Believe me, we have the power to change everything in our path. And I would say you, my friend, are a master of consciousness. And when we are that way, if we have a pain, what I do, if I have a pain anywhere in my body, and generally the pains in my body are my body uh, making the corrections, detoxing, letting go of the memories, cellular memory of the past, of the bullets and the bombs and whatever it may be, and or the person next to me making something that's not pleasant. But anyway, all these things, um, they don't need to be with us. We have the power within us to correct it. So let's get at it, right? As we do, our world will change, and everybody around us, everybody who loves us, everybody who wants to love us, really will change. We can do it. And we've, like I said, this this group, the Clear Lake uh, project, has already changed things in our path.
It's so powerful. And that's what you said, that the structured water changes everything in its path. And I love that when we're talking about the field effect, and that you can know when you're working with the structured water and in the conceptual understanding, and then feeling the connection of our strengthening of electromagnetic field, and feel confident and supported and safe in those changes and bringing those changes, and that change is positive. It's not scary, because what happens in the body after somebody's been in suppression and you go in with some healing modality like homeopathy, you're going to have an expression of symptoms because it's been suppressed. And so sometimes that expression of symptoms seems like it's getting worse and it's a disease, and that's what our culture's been programmed to think, that the expression is the disease itself. But the disease itself is a deeper distortion. So much of what needs to happen is to come out of this, to move the energy. And I just love that. And it makes me think of the connection to Mother Earth, and as the goddess, she changes everything she touches, and that beautiful energy of perfection that is moving through us. And we can remember that we're that, and in that hydrogen bond, and maybe come back into that bond.
Yeah, that hydrogen bond angle is, it is, um, uh, it's been kept, um, maybe from the availability of site. Let's say it's really not I don't know if it's published anywhere. Um, in some of the manuals or some of the things that I did in my life, it was published. But again, I don't know what's out there anymore, in the education world, if there's anything, and anyway, the hydrogen bond angle is simple. It's perfect. Um, and that perfection, when it's 6 water molecules in a cluster, hexagonal, for water and for all liquids and all air, this is perfection. And when it's that way, everything within it becomes subject to that perfection. In other words, perfect.
And that's been one of the hardest messages from the mother for me, is that she says, what if it's all unfolding perfectly? And the word perfect is a little bit tough because it's like we've had trouble with perfectionists. Right?
Right.
um, but and it comes to my final question for you, Clayton, to talk about this, the biophoton, the measurement, that literally this is structured water, and what live water is living light, and we are too. This perfection we're talking about makes me think of what Yeshua showed us is possible, and what we all are being asked to do is to take that step in evolution, go beyond the 6 and to the 9, and put on our robe of light. um, so tell us a little bit more about this biophoton quality.
Well, biophoton is a measurement. Uh, it's to measure the intensity of the light energy. So biophoton, is bio is life, photon is light, of which we are. We are biophoton beings. We are living light, and and um, and so we measure that, and that measurement is, in a sense, when you step into a room, you change the room. It's your energy, your light energy is changing the room. It's changing everything in the room, and that is a field effect. So the field effect of this technology, 4.5 miles for just pouring water through it. and or breathing through it. I mean, there's a full sequence of breath. You can breathe through it, you can change your physiology, and breath into your body. I mean, the first place that is really affected by your breath is your gut. The one place that needs to be perfect. I would Most people say your brain, but your brain is your brain. It's in its own right is perfect. It doesn't get its way all the time, but it's pretty perfect. So, uh, but that living light is a measurement. Biophoton. There have been other scientists who have followed this all their lives, uh, trying to figure out ways of measuring it. But biophoton is pretty simple if you really look deeper down into it. It Let's go back to a term that people kind of throw around in a sense, which is scalar. Scalar energy is an energy of a life force energy, basically, of all things, living things, primarily. And a scalar energy is a non-Hertzian energy, so it has no frequency. Your thought. Now, there are aspects of your thought that can be measured frequency-wise, maybe, but the truth of your thought is non-Hertzian. So basically, what you think can be received on the other side of the earth, or out into the universe. It's complicated, but within your body, the biophoton energy, in a sense, is the communication and the communication between your cellular level and your brain. Basically uses electromagnetic energy, but it also uses biophoton energy. That biophoton energy is in the term of chi. So how many times do you or have you utilized chi energy? Chi energy is the energy of exercising, um, creating chi. There are a lot of practices using chi energy, Tai Chi, Qigong. They're primarily Chinese. But if you want to go to India, it's prana. If you want to go to Japan, it's ki. If you want to go to Tesla, it's scalar, or Tesla energy, or what were the other ones he called it? He called it longitudinal energy. Every scientist that's come against this energy tends to name it. It's probably 30 different names for it out there. And some of those names go all the way back before Christ. And so,
So the structured water
go ahead.
is a relationship to the chi?
Yes, absolutely. It's within structured water, the biophoton energy, or the chi, is negative ions. Negative ions are primarily oxygen. And wherever water is in the active role of change, it creates negative ions. It creates chi energy, or biophoton energy.
That's
feel
so powerful. I
it's
feel
like
like maybe what is holding up our whole evolution is this fear of change on some level,
right,
and and no wonder, people like us supernovas can be a little bit scary to people in, stagnant or
yes,
in comfortable places, and, um,
right,
so it's exciting to think about this, and you talk about the free oxygen. It's freed up, and how in low the disease can only live in a low oxygen environment, and,
right.
it's interesting the agenda on our planet to lower oxygen level and in our bodies as well with the technologies, and so, of course, that's just creating more room for these pathologies and entities to exist, so the oxygen is absolutely key, and you
Yeah,
said the increased oxygen removes anything that doesn't serve it, and that's coming back to that perfection, of
one thing here you need to remind everybody, there's a lot of people really slamming down hydrogen. And everybody I've talked to that is on a hydrogen uh, protocol has conditions, some severe conditions, and the majority of them are because they are ingesting too much hydrogen. Our physiology is all about balance. If we're not balanced, our body is in trouble. And too much hydrogen can harbor disease, basically because hydrogen is pH, potential hydrogen is the way it's measured. If your potential hydrogen alkaline, if you're slamming your body with high hydrogen content, the first thing that affects is your gut. Your gut needs to be acidic, 6.4. Anything more or anything less, it affects your ability to digest food. When your body can't digest food, it starts storing everything as fat. Look around. How many people are fat or have excess fat?
Yeah, and it's a symbol of abundance, and yet it's scarcity, it's poverty, our cells aren't taking in the nutrition, and they're not taking in the water,
Eat
and that's the
water.
beautiful thing, the structured water just speaks of the mother's abundance for us and the solutions, she makes it perfect again and again as she tosses us around in the rocks, I suppose.
So it's all about balance. If you can maintain balance, and so many people have written about this, that if your bodies get out of balance, in especially in the realm of hydrogen, too much hydrogen or not enough hydrogen affects everything. The pH, you get a pH of uh, what is recommended is consuming food at a 7.5, no greater than 7.5 pH, 7.4 for women, 7.5 for men, maybe. And what happens is hydrogen is attracted to carbon. So your physical body is carbon. By the time it gets to your gut, it's 6.4. That's automatic. That's balance. If there's anything in the way of interfering with that, then you get indigestion, you get all kinds of other things happening. You get uh, really just a lot of things happening. If you get too much hydrogen, it affects your blood sugar. Not enough hydrogen affects your blood sugar the other way. Everything, the electrical components of your body are all affected by pH balance. Structured water is in its perfection is about 7.5. It is uh, but again, it can be altered.
Well, when you talk about that we are structured and our air is if we breathe through our nose, it's structured because it goes in the different directions, right? So when you're
Right,
talking about this perfect balance, it's
right.
such a beautiful picture of what we've been shown of healing the earth back to the perfect balance of masculine and feminine in these vortexes, um, really working together to purify and evolve forward rather than stagnate and out of balance, it feels
Right.
like. So it's so powerful, Clayton. This is such incredibly important work that you've done, and what a gift to speak with you today and to receive the benefit of your technologies for my health personally. I can't wait to get the new structuring device and widen that field. As the mother says, we have as we come into alignment with this mandate, then we have authority around over with the biological form around us, and it can just come into coherence. Nothing is needed beyond that knowing, and just to be able to demonstrate these concepts so that we can understand the power of our consciousness is just incredibly valuable for us. And so it's wonderful to speak with you today, Clayton, and keep up the great work. It's um, really special. I can't wait to see what the next step is as we move more into. And it's an interesting thing. When I first came into the structured water concept, I heard it from Drunvalo Melchizedek in a workshop, and I kept having this thing happen. This happened over years where I'd be like, I'd remember and I'd be like, I've got to go find that structuring device. I got to go learn about that. And it would be erased and taken out of my mind. And it's like you said, the hydrogen, this research, it's like, maybe we're at the place now where we can receive it. But wow, was there a lot of energy that seemed to be keeping me from that, grabbing hold of it. So may we be open to receive, like the cell receiving that hydration, the perfection of these teachings and awareness.
Drumvalo Melchizedek lived just down the road from me, about within 10 miles of me
Wow.
here in Arizona, Cornville.
Hmm.
So anyway, but I knew him, and I did an article back. I don't know. Somebody did an article on me, and the article was about the 10-pointed star, and it was pretty magical, really. That article in Drumvalo Melchizedek's periodical he put out, I think, twice a year. It went viral, so it was pretty interesting time.
And is that article available in the public? Can we link it on this show here?
I don't know if it is. I I I think I still have a copy of the magazine that it was published in.
Mhm.
And
Well, we can look and see if it happens to
yeah, it
be
was actually published
online.
in the magazine, which is St. Peter. It was St. Petersburg. Uh, well, maybe not. I don't know. Drum below Melchizedek, maybe there are archives somewhere.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can't find it and link go ahead and look in the information box below for information, claytonnolte.com website, and information about the structuring devices and more resources to learn about structured water. Clayton, it's been such a wonderful time with you here today. Is there anything you want to leave us with
Yes.
to
One thing I
complete
want
this
to remind
session?
you all of is the first question when something comes at you and it gets your attention. The first thing you want to ask is it mine? Because the majority of stuff that's in front of you and around you and surrounding you and potentially trying to get your attention is not yours. And a way to know is either muscle testing, pendulum, dowsing, some way of answering the question, is it mine?
Yeah, because we have the tools to deal with what's ours. But
If it
yeah,
if it's not, that is the time to do like water would do. Water's solution to everything is to turn and go around it. And in that turn, you're detoxing always.
that's so powerful. And seeing the obstacles that we've been dealing with, supernova souls, in this time of preparation and initiation, as that structuring, as that correction, as that pushing us, the mom as the camel, pushing us, nudging us onto the path where we can find our way home. And thank you, Clayton. I don't know if we could do it without you. So it's so wonderful to talk with you today. And I can't wait to hopefully meet again and go deeper into these concepts with some pictures. And um, so I look forward to it.
I love to engage with you on the journey.
Great. Thank you so much, Clayton. So wonderful to be here with you for Supernova Spotlight.